Hello and welcome to another Old World Battle Report. This time it's Vampire Counts versus Wood Elves in a 750 point Battle March game. Trying out a bit of a different format with the photos for this Battle Report. For my opponent Matt's Wood Elf list, there's a Glade Captain on a stag with great weapon, Talisman of Protection, and Aspect of the Bear. 4 units of Glade Guard. 2 of them have got True Flight arrows, and 2 of them have got Arcane Bodkins. Then there's 8 Dryads with a Nymph and 5 Wild Riders. For my Vampire Counts, there's a level 2 Necromancer with a Spell Familiar and Talisman of Protection. A White Lord BSB with Helm of Commandment and a Charm Shield, and he's leading a unit of 29 skeletons with Skeleton Champion and Standard Bearer. There's 12 Crypt Ghouls with a Crypt Ghast, 2 units of 6 Direwolves, and a Vargulf. For spells, the Necromancer got Van Hal's Curse of Years and Spirit Leech. So this is a picture just after Vanguard. The Direwolves have moved up slightly. So here's another view of the Wood Elves deployment. So on the near left you've got the Dryads and 2 units of Glade Guard and Glade Captain in the middle, and then 2 more units of Glade Guard just behind the wood on the right. Wood Elves turn 1 doesn't move a lot. The Glade Captain moves up slightly and has blocked the Wild Riders from charging. The Glade Guard shuffle up a little bit. They were just behind the wood during deployment, so the ones at the far end have moved up slightly to take some shots, and they've managed to kill 1 direwolf from the near unit and 2 from the one on the other side. The Vampire Counts movement, and quite a lot has happened. First, the Necromancer cast Spirit Leech on the Glade Guard unit on the hill, and Van Hal's on the Vargulf to increase its movement. The Vargulf then charged the Glade Guard unit, who failed their terror and ran off the board. So the Vargulf redirected into the Wild Riders. The Direwolves have moved up to just in front of the Glade Captain, and the Crypt Ghouls have moved up to just behind the wood. At the end of the turn, the Vargulf killed the entire Wild Rider unit, and then, because of frenzy, has had to overrun. Wood Elves turn 2 movement. The Dryads have moved up to the edge of the wood in front of the Direwolves, and the Glade Captain has charged into the other Direwolf unit. The remaining Glade Guard have all turned to face the Vargulf. The Glade Captain killed the Direwolves and then overrun onto the hill and is now facing the side of the Skeletons unit. Glade Guard all shot into the Vargulf, managing to do 1 wound. It managed to make a few regeneration saves. Vampire Counts movement. The Skeletons turn to face the Glade Captain, and the Necromancer has managed to cast Curse of Years on it. The Vargulf has moved up to the 2 units of the Glade Guard near the wood. Down at the other end of the battlefield, the Direwolves have charged into the Dryads. The combat goes very badly for the Direwolves, and there's only 1 remaining, but it's holding the Dryads in place for their turn. Wood Elves movement. Glade Captain has still got Curse of Years on him, so he didn't want to go into the Skeleton unit with all its static combat res, so has moved round the side towards the Crypt Ghouls, and the Glade Guard have repositioned slightly to again shoot at the Vargulf. Vargulf loses another wound, and the Dryads finish off the remaining Direwolf and overrun into the Crypt Ghouls. Vampire Count's turn. The Vargulf declares a charge against one of the Glade Guard unit, and again the Glade Guard failed the terror test and ran off the board. The Vargulf had to pursue, and it's now off the board, but we're coming back on where it's been placed there. In the centre, the skeletons reform to face the middle again, and the combat against with the Dryads and the Crypt Ghouls, they each lose 3 models. There's a bit of a gap in the photos. During the Wood Elves' turn, they shoot at the skeleton unit, managing to kill 2 of them, and the Glade Captain charges into the side of the Crypt Ghouls. Crypt Ghouls are reduced to just 4 models, and there's only 3 Dryads left. This photo is after the Vampire Count's movement. The Necromancer has cast Spirit Leech onto the Glade Captain and Van Hals onto the skeleton unit. At the end of the turn, the remaining Crypt Ghouls are killed. Again, there's a bit of a gap here. During the Wood Elf turn, the Glade Captain attempted to charge the Necromancer, who was exposed, but failed the charge. And then during the Vampire Count's turn, the skeletons, with help of Van Hals from the Necromancer, charged the Glade Captain. The Glade Captain was challenged out by the Skeleton Champion. The Skeleton Champion was killed, but the unit won combat due to its static combat res, and the Glade Captain fled and ended up off the board. Game ends in a Vampire Count's victory. It still could have swung the other way if the Glade Captain had made it into the Necromancer. He was poorly positioned and probably would have been killed. Also, the Dryads aren't actually giving up any points at the end of the game. One of us failing terror seems to have already become a recurring theme, and it was really impactful this game. Not just with the Glade Guard running off the board, but then the Vargulf redirecting and running down the Wild Riders before they could charge anything. Even with the BSB reroll, the Vampire Counts hardly passed any leadership test this game either. Crown of Command and Resurrection from the Necromancer did basically nothing all game, except a few skeletons were brought back at some point. This was the first Battle March game I've played, and with the suggested table size and also the diagonal deployment here, means any failed leadership and you're probably off the board. With the way the skeletons were deployed, even if they had given ground, for example, they would have been pushed off the board. They have so little space to actually deploy in. Quite like the format though, and because they're quite quick, we're able to change things around a bit and play another game straight away. So the report from that game should be up in a few days. So stay tuned to the channel if you want to watch that one, and let me know if you'd like to see more Battle March size games. Thanks for watching.